Chapter 20. The Game Plan.
Everyone in the team were enthusiastically singing and dancing along to the song, but as soon as it finished playing, they quickly joined Storyteller on the lounge. He once again looked at them, and then outside of them, and said warmly,
"The illumined ones trust that you are all now excited by the greatest game of all."
And the world answered as one, "Yes."
They are pleased to hear that.
He replied happily,
And they have asked me to summarize all that I have told you. But before I do, it is very important that we all understand the following Hermetic teaching found in the Kybalion. The possession of knowledge, unless accompanied by a manifestation and expression in action, is like the hoarding of precious metals, a vain and foolish thing. Knowledge, like wealth, is intended for use. The law of use is universal, and he who violates it suffers by reason of his conflict with natural forces. In other words, knowledge is worthless unless you take actions to use all that you have learned. The only way to live an extraordinary and magnificent life is to create it with the passion of your own desires to become who you truly want to be. Isn't that what you all want?
he called out, and the multitudes excitedly replied, "Yes."
To recap on the Hermetic teachings you have received so far,
He said,
you will recall that in the beginning, all that ever existed was an infinite, magnificent energy of consciousness known as the All. As nothing existed outside of the All, this infinite living mind, who many refer to as God, along with numerous other names, did not know the true essence of itself, because it is impossible to know what is, unless you know what is not. The All yearned over billions of years to know the essence of its own being, and so it mentally created thousands upon thousands of universes. And then life evolved as we all began our journey back towards the source of our beginning. The All divided a small portion of itself into an infinite number of souls to live within every one of its creations, and through these could experience and observe the magnificence and nature of itself. This was the beginning of the greatest game of all. All life exists in the mind of the All, and therefore the first Hermetic principle of mentalism teaches us that the All is mind. The universe is mental. We have also learned that our universe consists of physical, mental, and spiritual planes, and all are subject to the same principles, as explained by the second principle of correspondence, which states, "As above, so below. As below, so above." The third Hermetic principle of vibration teaches us that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates, which simply means that everything is made up of energy, vibrating at different levels on every plane of existence. Our thoughts and emotions are energy, which brings us to the fourth Hermetic principle of polarity. That explains that everything has a pole, containing a pair of opposite ends with numerous degrees of vibration between them. Within the mental plane, we can change the effect of our negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions by consciously elevating our vibrations to ones of higher positive energy. The fifth principle of rhythm reveals that everything flows out and in, all things rise and fall, and everything has tides on every great plane, because of a pendulum swing that manifests in everything. On the mental plane, the pendulum affects our moods within our unconscious mind as it swings backwards and forwards along our emotional polarity poles. The great news is that we can avoid these mood changes by continually polarizing our emotions at the highest vibratory level in our conscious mind. We have also learned from the sixth principle of cause and effect that there is no such thing as chance, because for every effect there has to be a cause, and for every cause there has to be an effect. Our lives are often manipulated by our obedience to our culture's heritage and the wills and desires of others that are stronger than our own. We have the power, though, to become causers and not effects by reminding ourselves that we are playing the greatest game of all, in which we can be whoever we want to be. Finally, the principle of gender is the seventh Hermetic teaching, which reveals that we have two identities, the me being our feminine subconscious mind, and the I being our masculine conscious mind. By using strong and unstoppable masculine conscious suggestions, we are then able to direct a vibratory energy of willpower upon our creative feminine mind, who will gradually accept them as her own and act and think accordingly. If we are to be successful in the greatest game of all, our conscious self needs to assert enormous willpower upon our unconscious self with absolute and unchangeable certainty that the mental images we are impressing upon our creative mind are what we want to experience in life. So desire, and then be it, is the key to having a wonderful life. The illumined ones want to know if you all now understand that we exist in the mind of the All, and that there is nothing to fear because we live forever.
and thousands upon thousands of book readers and cinema goers replied with a somewhat relieved but happy yes.
They also want you to know,
He continued,
that the only difference between themselves and us is that they have advanced to higher levels in the greatest game of all, and to achieve this we must all have a game plan. They say that the higher we go in the game of life, the greater the experiences we will enjoy, because every new level reached gives us additional powers to explore even more the magnificence of countless universes, their planets, and other unimaginable creations that are far beyond our comprehension.
Storyteller then looked at Team Galactic and asked,
For you to advance in your competition game, you must remember that you are only playing a game to overcome the fear you experience when challenged by a pathway dilemma. Is that correct?
The team nodded in agreement, and so he then continued.
Would you also agree then that if you don't overcome that fear in time, you lose a game life, which means you have to reincarnate so that you can attempt to reach that new level once again?
And they all replied with a little trepidation, yes. He then called out to the world excitedly.
So, don't you think that this is the same as in the greatest game of all, where we can reincarnate for hundreds of lives until we finally reach the next level?
And the reply was an ecstatic yes.
Wouldn't you say that it is fear that manifests within us as feelings of inadequacy, regret, lack of self-esteem, jealousy and anger, sorrow and depression, to name just a few, that effectively stops us from remembering who we are and who we truly want to be?
And millions replied with an enlightened and knowledgeable yes. He then continued, with even more enthusiasm.
We now know that to overcome those negative feelings that limit our lives so dramatically, we simply have to remember that we are only playing the game of life, and that there's nothing for us to fear. Once we do this, we can consciously change the polarity of our negative emotions to ones of love and positivity, thereby creating a new heightened state of mind.
Storyteller once again looked at the team and asked them,
Before you choose your game character, you first look at what skills and weaponry they possess that will best suit your game plan. Isn't that right?
And Fempower replied.
Yes, we do.
Well,
He continued.
we have the added advantage in the greatest game of all, to be able to custom make our game characters with all the strengths and skills we need to successfully create magnificent life games of our own choosing. We can be who we want to be and do whatever we want if we create the right characters and personalities for the life games we have chosen to play. Don't you think that this is fantastic?
He called out to the world, and millions called back with great belief and enthusiasm, yes.
We know that our creative me identity is just a projection of the beliefs and suggestions that have been impressed upon our subconscious minds by ourselves and others. Therefore, it can be changed at any time with persistent, strong thoughts received from our masculine conscious mind, known as our I identity. So, tell me,
He said once again, addressing the team.
do you guys have a game plan that you follow when you are playing?
Absolutely.
Replied Zotin.
It is important not only for our own individual games, but as a team. If you don't plan strategies and know what you want to achieve, you wouldn't progress in this competition very far at all.
Storyteller chuckled and said,
I can totally relate to that, because it is also essential in the greatest game of all, that we have a game plan not only for ourselves individually, but also for our families, communities and nations, and most importantly for our world. A life without a game plan generally meanders along, containing pleasant and not so pleasant experiences depending on how the me has been programmed, which is why so many people reincarnate for hundreds of lifetimes before they learn to take control of their game by becoming a causer and not an effect. Unfortunately, the average person spends most of their time in their me consciousness because they do not realize that they have such a thing as an I identity.
He paused for a moment as if in thought, and then said,
The illumined ones would like to know if you believe that you are ready to use this important knowledge that you now possess.
And the multitudes replied ecstatically, yes.
That's good news. And so the first thing that we all have to do is create our own game plans by asking ourselves, who do we want to be? And what experiences do we want to create for our lives? This in itself is a game challenge, because one of the biggest obstacles we must overcome in the greatest game of all is our mental laziness. Because I am sure that many of you will admit that it is far easier to let someone else do the thinking for us. Most of you would be aware that for some unknown reason, we try to avoid the effort of deep thinking, and yet that reluctance to think has been put there purposely as one of the greatest challenges facing us in our mental game of life. Until we defeat it and learn to think with freedom and enjoyment, we will forever remain slaves to our environment and the stronger will of others who enforce their thoughts upon us. Now, do you believe me when I say that the greatest game of all is amazing? Because the only way to succeed in this game is to use our minds. And yet we first must overcome our reluctance to actually use them. Isn't that brilliant?
He called out while laughing, and only a few hundred people replied timidly, yes.
Oh, come on. You can do better than that.
He said, with humor in his voice.
You have just been given the key to unlocking your minds, to the brilliance of yourselves. Because now when you begin to think and you feel that resistance, you can consciously change the polarity of that feeling to the highest vibration of absolute mental liberation. Release your mind with freedom and wild abandonment so that you can design the lifestyle of your dreams with absolute enjoyment, loving the experience of living within your mind. Now, doesn't that excite you?
He cried out, and the voice of millions replied with great gusto, yes. And he called back again.
We can't hear you.
And the world replied, yes, 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 oh my God, yes. And they all laughed together, because they sensed a new world was beckoning them. Storyteller then said,
Now, when you begin to write the game plans for your lives, do it with joy and excitement. Use your minds with freedom to explore your deepest desires, not only for yourselves, but for your families and communities. Know who you need to be to fulfill your dreams, and consciously polarize the highest vibrations of those characteristics and talents you require into your being, such as willpower, strength, confidence, self-esteem and courage, and the abilities to learn, teach, and be a master of life. As you change characteristics of your me-self, different people will join your life game to confirm that you are this new identity of who you now perceive yourself to be, while many others who had previously played your old game with you will begin to drift away. Always impress your desires with unshakable faith upon your creative mind, and then live as you see yourself to be, and all will manifest before your eyes. We live in a mental world, and our minds are the instruments of creativity in the greatest game of all. It is also very important to visualize our world as being without fear, so paint a powerful picture in your minds of a wonderful planet of love, where all people of all cultures live as one, and for each one, let your voices be heard, because you now have the wisdom to know that the suffering in our world is only of our own making. Be leaders and followers in our one world love movement, and dance with love in the streets with people of all nationalities and faiths. Create with your minds your own paradise on earth, and together you will elevate victoriously to the next level of being superhuman. You now have the power, so let's do it.
He called out, and they all cheered rapturously.